Shalom, my dear friends. Shalom from the holy city of Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Today, the 16th day of the month of Shevat of the year 5778. And I hope that we are receiving the reshimu, the trace, the residue of the great light that was shining yesterday on Tu B'Shvat, one of the great hidden festivals of the Torah calendar, the New Year of the tree, that is the tree of life, when all of the fruits of the tree, the souls are renewed, and let us draw renewal, hitchatshut, from Tu B'Shvat as we advance now to a season of the year when every 2 weeks we have a holiday. We have in 2 weeks Rosh Chodesh Adar, the beginning of the new month of Adar. 2 weeks afterwards we will have Purim. 2 weeks after that we will have the new moon of Nisan, the month of redemption. 2 weeks after that will be Pesach. And after that we have, just a month later, Pesach Sheni. And then 3 weeks after that we have the festival of Shavuot. So we have a period of very great spiritual elevation now ahead of us. And God willing, I hope that during this period we shall be able to pursue our studies regularly now, hopefully without any breaks. And let us today go now into our study of the prophet Hosea, coming today to the second chapter of the prophet Hosea. Shalom, today, the 16th day of the month of Shevat of the year 5778, corresponding to the 1st of February of the year 2018. And today we come to the second chapter of the prophecy of Hosea, and this immediately follows on from the very stark and grim chapter with which the book starts, where, as we saw, Hosea was commanded to take an adulterous, a promiscuous woman to wife and have children, and the children were named with these very grim names, which indeed bespeak the destruction of the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of the 10 tribes, as it was in the time of Hosea, in the later generations of the period of the temple of King Solomon. And the prophet had prophesied, we shall see, even starker and clearer and more explicit prophecies in the continuation. He had prophesied that these children are representative of a people that is no longer the people of God. They're going to be scattered around. They will be called by the name of Yisrael, where Yisrael has the connotation of being of God's scattering. And the second child is called Lo Ruchama. She has not shown compassion and mercy. And the third child called Lo Ami, not my people. And here in these names we do indeed have a very stark expression of a phenomenon that so many of the awakening souls today experience, of feeling a connection with Israel and yet feeling Lo Ami, not my people, Lo Ruchama. We have not been shown mercy, where there is so much alienation among those who feel themselves to be the natural continuation and the spiritual heirs of the 10 tribes of Israel. The sense that there is no certainty about the identity, Lo Ami, as if the choice position which was given to Israel at Sinai, when Israel was to be the Am Segula, the treasured nation, the Mamlechet Kohanim, the kingdom of priests. Now the 10 tribes are to be rejected, and Judah too is to be greatly chastised. And we follow immediately after the end of chapter 1 with chapter 2, which begins and ends with the most a beautiful prophecy of the restoration of the absolute fruitfulness of Israel in time to come, and joining back the 10 tribes of Israel with Judah, all under one head and one king. And that indeed then will be the great day of Yisrael, of the future. And then will come the restoration, as we'll see in the coming chapter. We are told by the prophet, say to our brothers, you are my people, to our sisters, you are beloved, you have been shown compassion. I think here is a most important teaching for every Jewish person to be showing to all of those who are coming to Israel and sincerely and honestly seeking and yearning to attach to Israel and to the Torah, for us to say to them, you are our brothers, you are our sisters, you are part of my people, you are part of the beloved people. But then after those introductory verses to chapter 2, we then have again a stark prophecy of reproof against the promiscuous and adulterous children of Israel. And we will have this very stark delineation of Israel as the promiscuous harlot woman who is seeking after her lovers, but she can't find them until in the end God will force her to, he will bring her back to the very wilderness from which Israel started, and he will speak to the heart of Israel, and once again he will restore the people of Israel, and thus we shall come to the conclusion of this chapter with the promise of the restoration of the new Brit, the new covenant that we struck on that day with all of creation, when an era of cessation of war and the glory of peace will come into the world, with the chapter 2 verse 21 concluding this parasha. It's all it's made up of, chapter 2 is made up of a couple of separate parashiot. There's a break in there's a break within the chapter where there's a change of tone, which marks the end of one parasha and the beginning of the new parasha, but altogether it's all of one discourse. From verse 1 to verse 15 is one parasha. Between 15 and 16 there is the break of a parasha stuma, that is a lesser break than a parasha ptucha. But at the after verse 21, that incredibly beautiful verse of the consecration of Israel once again to God in faith and for all eternity, that marks after verse 22 the end of another parasha. And then there's yet another parasha ptucha from verses 23 through to the end of the chapter, which is a prophecy of the true flourishing in the future of all of the elements to bring prosperity to Israel. And she that was not beloved will become beloved. She that was called not my people will again be called my people, and Israel will say yes, accepting our God Hashem Elokim. So with that, let us look into the Hebrew text of chapter 2, which indeed is part of our annual synagogue liturgy, when we come to the portion of Bamidbar, the portion of the beginning of the book of Numbers. This parasha of the opening parasha of Book of Numbers is speaking about the population count of Israel in the wilderness as they were poised to leave Mount Sinai on their journey to Israel. And it's appropriate that our chapter 2 from Hosea, with its very beautiful opening words, the number of the children of Israel will be like the sand of the sea that cannot be measured, it cannot be counted. And in place of it being said to them, "You're not my people," it will be said, "You are the children of the living God." So let us look at and chant the Hebrew and comment on the translation and the meaning of this a very eloquent prophecy here, which goes from side to side. It goes from great reproof into great consolation. The reproof we've had in chapter 1, now in chapter 2. Vehoyo misbahar b'nei Yisrael kechol hayom asher lo yimad velo yisofer vehoyo b'makom asher yehu meir lohem lo ami atem Yeomar Elohem b'nei Elechoi v'nigbetzu b'nei Yehudo v'nei Yisrael yachadov v'samu lohem rosh echod ve'olo min haaretz ki gadol yom Yisrael. Himeru lachechem amim, v'lachoseichem ruchomah. These opening 3 verses of the prophecy, the number of the children of Israel will be like the sand of the sea. It is the sand indeed which prevents the sea from running over onto the land. The sand is the boundary beyond which the sea is not allowed to cross, and this boundary protecting the earth is formed by the children of Israel when they're in a state of holiness, compared to the uncountable, inestimable grains of the sand of the sea. And contrary to the stark words at the end of the previous chapter, in place of there having been said to them, "You are not my people," it should be said, "You are the children of the living God." The divine name El Choi is associated with the Sphira of Yesod. That is to say that El Chai is the specific name of God that alludes to the aspect of the foundation, that is the purity of the people of Israel, which is channeled to them through the divine attribute of tzaddik. And so children of Israel will be attaining this exalted level of literally the beloved children of the living God. And then in verse 2 we have the prophecy of the ingathering of the 2 kingdoms back together to be united as one. V'nikbetzu b'nei Yehudo u'b'nei Yisrael yachtov. The sons of Judah will be gathered together, and the children of Israel, all together as one. V'samu lohem rosh echod. They will put upon themselves one head, one leader. This is the Melech Mashiach, as Rashi specifies on verse 2, Rosh Echad, David Malcolm, King David. And the verse concludes with the words, V'alu min ha'aretz, they shall go up from the earth. It's striking that at the beginning of book of Exodus, Pharaoh's fear was precisely that the children of Israel would go up from the land. They'd go up out of the materialism of this world to an entirely new plane. And the verse concludes, Ki Godel Yom Yisrael, great is the day of Jezreel, says Rashi, the greatness of this day is the ingathering of this greatly scattered nation. We have references elsewhere in the Torah to the extreme difficulty of the Geulah, the redemption, because God literally takes each and every soul by the hand, leading us to our destiny. And we are now restored as a people. Imul achichem, say to your brothers, Ami. This is a call both to Judah and to the 10 tribes, to each and every one of us, to look at all of the others and recognize you are my people, dear brothers, my dear sisters, you are beloved. So then from verse 4, the chastisement takes a radically new turn from these words of comfort which Hosea expressed, from these words of comfort which Hosea expressed to the people after which were prompted by his own need to backtrack from his as our sages said, as we saw in the Talmud, the passage we learned in the previous session, that Hosea considered it might be necessary for God to, God forbid, change the children of Israel for another, to replace them, the original exponent of replacement theology. And in order to prevent this happening, it is now that Hosea comes with his the full force of his direct rebuke, coming the words of God through the prophet to Israel, to both sides, to Judah and to Israel, to let us put away this adultery, this promiscuity, this intermingling with the cultures and beliefs of the nations. Starting now from verse 4. Rivuhu v'mechem rivuhu ki lo ishti v'anoichi lo isha v'esosel zenuneho miponeho v'nafufeho mi behin shodeho. Rivu ve'emechem, riv is a quarrel, it's an argument. Israel is called upon to argue with, to reprove, to reproach our mother, the collective people, Knesset Yisrael. We have to proactively enter into this process of self-examination and self-purification. The prophet says, Kihi lo ishti, in the words of the Almighty. Israel, Knesset Yisrael, is no longer called ishti, the Hebrew isha, of which this is the first person possessive, ishti, my wife. When she's called not my wife, the status of isha as joined to her ish, her husband, is higher than the status of the woman that sees her husband as her Baal, her Lord, to whom she is subject. And here, as we shall see at the end of this chapter, and the end is will be accepted by God as God being the ish of, we will call God ishi, my ish, my man, as opposed to my Baal. And here now the prophet begins the reproof, ki lo ishti, she is not on this favored level. Anuchi lo isha, I'm not her husband. Let her remove this immorality from her face, from before her, and this adultery from between her breasts. And then the threat in verse 5, pen afshiteno arumo vehitzaktiho kayo im hivaledoho vesamtio chamid bo veshatio ke'eretz tzion vahamitiho batzomo. For otherwise God will strip Israel naked, no more signs of identification of the people with the original people of Israel, be naked of all the commandments, naked of all of the practice of the people, and God will let Israel stand there like on the day she was born, abandoned. We have in book of Ezekiel an extensive chapter depicting the birth and the growth and the pubescence of the maiden of Israel, when she too in Egypt was bereft of all of the commandments, bereft of her identity, and God will put her back like in the wilderness. The Hebrew says "ha midbar," like ha midbar. The chof, which is the word signifying like, has a patach under it. Ke ha midbar will be like the wilderness in which Israel originated. V'shatio ke'eretz tzio, shall be like a thirsty land. V'mitio batzomo, shall kill her out of thirst, namely the spiritual thirst that will be when Israel's in this desperate situation. V'yesboneho lo alachem, ki v'nei zenunim hemo. I will not show mercy upon her children, for they are the children of iniquity, of immorality. And now, defining, previously in the first chapter, we had the mashal that Hosea was commanded to take Gomer bat Divlaim as his wife, but now the nimshal is the overall Knesset Yisrael, who has caused this situation of disaster to her children, the children of the tribes. Ki zanesahimum hoyvisha hoyroisahum ki yamedo elecho acharei me'ahavai noisnei lachmi u'meimai tzamri uvishti shamni v'shikuvoyoy. For their mother has played the harlot, she has conducted herself with adultery, she has caused to be ashamed those that conceived them. For she has said, let me go after my lovers, though that I'm in love with, those who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drink. So here this is expressing the essential flaw that was found throughout the Tanakh from Joshua until the end of the book of Kings, where initially the people did not drive out or conquer all of the Canaanite peoples as they were commanded, and little by little they began to go after the customs and the gods of the other nations, and came to believe that their prosperity and their destiny was bound up with imitating and assimilating to the surrounding nations, whether it was Ammon or Moab or Edom, or whether it was Aram, or further afield, the great nations of Ashur, Assyria, and Mitzrayim. Israel thought that these were their true lovers who provided them with their prosperity. And that is why God is now going to come against Israel in this terrible way. Verse 8, Lochen hineni soch estarkom basirim v'godarti es k'deiro u'nesivoiseho lo hoisim etzo. Here in verse 8 we have the opposite of the idyllic pastoral world that we encountered in Shir Hashirim, where we had the beauty of the keramim, the vineyards, the orchards, and the rustic life. But here this whole life will come to an end. God threatens now, Lochen ineni soch estarkech, I shall shut up your path, basirim, with thorns, v'godarti es gedero, I will set up a gedera, a barrier, a wall. U'nesivoiseo lo simso, she will not find her paths. The word gader here is precisely the word which is being used of the walls that are being built in the land of Israel, to keep one people separate from another, are being spoken about elsewhere in the world. And now verse 9, the frustration of Israel of finding that her way is blocked. ורדפו es מהווהו ולא ישיגו סום, וביקש עושם ולא ימצאו, ויאמרו הלכו ושובו אל אישי הראשון, כי טוב לי עוז מאותו. She'll go chasing after her lovers, but she shall not reach them. She shall seek them out, but she shall not find them. And she will say, I will go, let me go back. Let me return to my first man, my first husband, for it was good for me then, better than now. But still, says God, Israel has not learned the lesson. והיא לא ידעו, כי אנוכי נשאתי לו הדוגון והתירוש והיצהר, וכסף הרביתי לו, וזהב עשו לבועל. But she did not know that it was I that have been giving her the corn and the wine and the oil, and I multiplied silver for her, but the gold they made for the Baal idol. And for that reason, God, to chastise Israel, in verse 11, threatens, Lo chen oshuv, v'lo kachti degoni ba'itoi, v'sir roishi b'mohadoi, v'hitzalti tzamrihu fishti, lechasois es ervoso. And therefore I shall go back, says God, because of her backslidings. I shall take away my grain in its time and my wine in its season, and I shall snatch away my wool and my linen that were serving to cover her nakedness. The Hebrew words here could also sustain the meaning that God will restore the wool and the linen and the corn and the grain, but the surface meaning is that he will take them away. Verse 12, V'ato agale es navluso le'einei me'ahaveho ve'ish lo yatzileno miyodi. But now I shall reveal her iniquity. The word nevela is used of a rotting animal carcass, something that has no use and no value, that is thrown out to the dogs. And here the connotation of the word navluso is very derogatory. Will be in the full gaze of all those that she counted as her lovers, those nations of Assyria and Babylon. Ve'ish lo yatzilanu miyodi, no man will be able to save her from my hand. Ve'hishbati kol masoiso, hago, chodsho, ve'shabato, ve'chol mo'ado. And I shall cause to cease all of her joy, her festival, her month, the month of the special months of the festivals, the month of Nisan, the month of Tishrei, the Shabbatot, her Sabbaths, the Chol Mo'ado, all of her appointed seasons, all of the cycle of the Torah year will be gone from these exiled people, and the prosperity will be lost. The spiritual prosperity, which is alluded to in the produce of the earth, verse 14. V'hashimoisi higafno useinoso asher omedo אסנוהמו לי, אשר נוסנו לי מאהבוי, ושמתים ליער, ואכול עושם חייס השדה. I shall destroy her vine and her fig tree, of which he said, these are a gift to me from my lovers, the hire, the fee of the harlot that gave to me my lovers. And I, says God, I shall make them like a forest, and the beasts of the field shall devour them. That is to say that all of the glory and goodness of Israel, both material and spiritual, will be devoured by the nations who are likened to the beasts of the field. Verse 15, Ufokareti oleho es yemei habeolim asher takti Elohem vatahad nizmo vechelioso vatilech acharei me'ahaveho and I shall visit upon her the days of the Baalim, those strange gods, Asher takti Elohem, that she burned incense to them, burned offerings, Vata'ad nizmo v'chelioso, when she adorned herself with the rings of her ears and her ornaments, but the rings of her nose, the other rings upon her body. She went after her lovers. Me did she forget, says the Lord. So here we come to the end of the first parasha, of which chapter 2 is made up, and we now come to a new parasha. In my edition, it's counted as a parasha stuma, which means less of a break, because now the shift is to speaking about how God will once again redeem Israel in a way parallel to the redemption of Israel from Egypt. Lo chain, hine anoichi mefateho, v'hoilachti o hamidbol, v'dibarti al libo. Therefore, because of this despicable, impossible situation of Israel having gone astray, then once again I will tempt her, coax her, seduce her. V'holachtiho hamidbor, I shall take her out to the wilderness. Says Rashi on this verse, the wilderness, that is the exile, which is like a dry wilderness. It is there in exile that Israel will go into her heart and see that it was better for her when she did my will rather than when she rebelled against me. So God will perform this coaxing in this wilderness of exile among the nations. V'dibarti al libo, I shall speak to her heart. And from there will come the restoration. Verse 17. V'nosati lo heskero meho mishom v'es emek ochor lefesach tikvo v'honeso shamo ki yemei nihureho ochayoim oil aloiso me'eretz mitzrohim. I shall give her back her vineyards from there, and the ugly valley I shall turn into, it shall become an opening of hope. The answer shama, she shall respond, she shall answer there, kiyemei ne'urehos, in the days of her youth, chayom aluisam eretz mitzroim, in the day when she rose up, came up out of the land of Egypt. here in this verse we see words that were taken as the name of the contemporary town in Israel known as Petach Tikva, the opening of hope, which is the transformation of the Emek Achor, the once ugly and seemingly unfertile valley, which was magnificently, miraculously transformed into the Petach Tikva, the opening of hope that we see in the flourishing of the land in our time as we see the realization of these prophecies. So now in verse 18, V'hoyo v'yomahu nehum Adonai tikre Shem v'lo yisikre lehi oid bali. And it shall be on that day, says Hashem, that you, O Israel, the assembly of Israel, you shall address me, you shall call me as Ishi, my man, my husband. You shall no longer call me Ba'ali, my master. So here's referred to earlier. We see how the status of Israel as being the true sanctified wife of Israel, of the Almighty, shall return. She shall no longer be subject to a seemingly capricious and cruel master, because all will be restored. Ve'hasiroisi et shemois habeolim mipihom v'lo yizacheroid bishmaham. And I shall remove the names of the foreign gods from her mouth, from the mouth of Israel. They shall no longer be recalled and remembered by their names. There will be the inner purification of the souls of Israel by separating from the alien religions. And now the beautiful closing words of this section, verses 20 through 22, in the daily prayer liturgy of the observant Jew. Verses 21 and 22 are recited when binding the tefillin around the hand to form the name of Hashem, the name of Shaddai. So starting now with verse 20. V'chorati lohem beris bayom aho im chayas hasodeh v'im oif hashomayim v'remes hu adomo v'keshes v'cherev u'milchomo eshbor min haaretz v'hishka v'tihim lo vetach. V'chorati lohem beris, I shall strike with them, cut with them a covenant. Bayom ahu, on that day, im chayas asodeh, with the animals of the field, of Hashemayim, the birds of the heavens, remes u'adoma, the creeping creations of the earth. These can also be seen as metaphors for the nations of the earth and for all of the creation, that the restoration of the covenant will come with the return to the original harmony of creation, when Israel will be restored with the temple at the center of the life of the people and the life of the world. And then this beautiful expression of verses 21 and 22 involving the Hebrew Torah concept of erusin. Erusin, which is the first step in marriage. Before a man takes his destined partner into his home, he first sanctifies her with kiddushin, and this in halacha is called the erusin. The erusin, the espousals, the engagement, the formal dedication of husband and wife to each other. And now this will be the expression in the future restoration of Israel. Ve'erastich li le'olam, ve'erastich li betzedek u'v'mishpot, ובחסד וברחמים. וירסתיך לי באמונו, ויודעת es Adonai. Verse 21, Ve'erastich li le'olam, I shall sanctify you to me for eternity. Ve'erastich li betzedek uve'mishpot uve'chesed uve'rachamim. I shall dedicate you to me with 4 attributes, that of tzedek, of righteousness, mishpat, justice, chesed, kindness, rachamim, mercy and compassion. And then a summation of all the qualities in verse 22, ve'erastich li be'emuno, the very foundation and the summit of the espousals is emunah, the faith upon which everything depends, the faith in God, God's faithfulness to us, God's reliability to us. V'yodat es Adonai, you shall know the Lord, you shall know with the full da'at, the full intimate knowledge. As we shall see in later chapters of Hosea, one of the reproofs against the people is that this is a people without da'at. But in the future return, there will be true knowledge as prophesied by the prophet that came after Hosea, Isaiah. The earth shall be filled with the knowledge of God like the waters cover the seas. So this is where we shall leave our chapter 2 here for today, and we shall take a few minutes break now and come back to our studies in just a few minutes to go on to our continuing studies of the letters of the alphabet, coming today to the letter Shin. So I shall be back in just a few minutes after the interval. Shalom again. Now we come to our study for today of the Hebrew letters, the penultimate in this series, coming now to the 21st letter of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. We've actually already covered 25 letters. Today we shall be covering the 26th, because we have, besides the 22 basic letters, we also have the 5 letters Mem, Nun, Tzadi, Pei, Chof, Mantzpach, that have different form when they are written at the end of the word from the form they have when they are at the beginning of the middle of the word. So there are altogether 27 forms of letters, but only 22 basic letters. Today we have the 21st letter, the letter Shin. Shalom, today, the 16th day of the month of Shevat of the year 5778, corresponding to the 1st of February of the year 2018. And today we come to the one but last in our series covering the form of the Hebrew letters as they are written in the Torah scroll or in the Tefillin and the Mezuzah. And today we come to the letter Shin, the 21st of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And the letter Shin is a letter that takes its form from the 3 parts that compose the letter. The letter Shin is essentially made up of what are called 3 heads, which are standing each one on its legs, and the 3 legs are converging to a point at the bottom of the line. These 3 letters that we mentioned when we came to the letter Kuf, and likewise the letter Resh, and now the letter Shin, the 3 of them are all standing on one leg, and there are different connotations of this. The 3 letters Shin, Kuf, and Resh, standing on one leg, spell out the word sheker, falsehood, and the letter Kuf can be seen as a kind of a fake letter Hey with a lengthened left leg reaching downwards. So the 3 letters on the one hand are the roots of certain negativity, but each of those 3 letters also, of course, a root of holiness. The letter Kuf is the beginning of the Hebrew word kadosh, holy. The letter Resh is the first letter of the Hebrew word reshit, which signifies wisdom and also the first fruits. And now the letter Shin is indeed one of the letters of one of the divine names, the divine name of Shaddai, the eternal. And the letter Shin with its 3 heads can be seen as expressing the influence of the 3 patriarchs, 3 columns of influence coming down into the world from the head downwards, and all converging into a point as they flow into this world. Well, there are 2 ways in which the letter Shin is written. One is the standard way according to Nusach Ashkenaz, known as the style of the letters of Bet Yosef, where indeed the 3 heads are conceived of as follows. The right-hand head is seen as a Vov. The middle head is actually conceived as a Yud, and in the case of the script of Bet Yosef, which is used by the non-Hasidic and non-Kabbalistic Ashkenazic communities, the 3rd head, the left-hand head, is in the form of a Zion, which has its tagin, the crowns, on it. According to the teachings of Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, the outstanding 16th century Kabbalist, the left head is to be written and not as a Zayin, but as a Vov. The difference between the Zayin and the Vov is that in the case of the Vov, the head has the leg on its right-hand side. In the case of the letter Zayin, as in the form of the letter in Bet Yosef script, as we see now on our screens, the neck on which the head of the left-hand letter Zayin is standing is in the center of the head. But in the case of the Ari script, Ktav Ari, the head is standing with its the leg is on the right-hand side of the left-hand head. But by all accounts, the Shin has these three heads, and as we shall see as we go in now to the laws as brought down by the Mishnat Sofrim of the Chofetz Chaim, Rabbi Yisrael Kagan, we see that basically the Shin does have these three heads, and their spacing is something that the scribe has to practice in order to write correctly, so that none of the three heads is touching any of the others. And there must maybe no more than three heads, and the three heads on as their legs extend downwards, the legs have, as I've said, to converge in one point. So let us now follow then the laws of the letter Shin as brought down in the Mishnat Sofrim. The Shin, he says, has three heads. The face of the right-hand head, that is the left-hand side of the right-hand head, is to be angled so that it's facing upwards. In other words, if these three heads are sources of influence coming down into the world, they're all receiving their influence from up above, and that's why the right-hand head has to be on this slant looking upwards. And this right-hand head with its leg gives this part of the Shin the appearance of a Vov. The face of the middle head, the second head, should also be slanting upwards, and it should have an oketz, a thorn, placed upon it milachatchila in the outset. Ideally, the scribe should have this oketz just like the letter Yud has an oketz on its upper left-hand side, this thorn. And in the case of the middle head of the Shin, the leg is slightly shorter than the leg of the right-hand head. And because the leg of the middle head is shorter, that is why the halacha refers to it as a Yud and not as a Vov. So the third head, the left-hand head, as we've seen, takes the shape of a Zayin with its three tagim, the three crowns upon it. And the Chofetz Chaim in Mishnat Sofrim mentions here that the left heads of all of the letters of Sha'atnez Gatz, that is the Shin, Ayin, Tet, Nun, Zayin, Gimel, and Tzadik, all of those letters are made up of different configurations, including a part that resembles a Zayin. This is according to the script of Bet Yosef. In the case of the Ari, some of those letters have, as we have seen in our studies, the shape of a Vov. But here the Chofetz Chaim is bringing down the laws of the script of Bet Yosef, and the left heads of all of the letters of Shatnez Gatz in Bet Yosef are written like a Zayin. Now, we shall explore in a little while more on the subject of not connecting the heads of the Shin. They must not be attached anywhere. And we shall look presently at what would happen if the ink had spread or the scribe had made a mistake. But for the moment, let us note that as opposed to the left hand and middle, as opposed to the right hand and the middle heads of the Shin, the left hand leg of the Shin should be upright. It should not be slanted either to the right or to the left. It should be more or less upright as far as possible. and the right hand leg and the middle legs should be drawn on the slant, so they will all meet at one point. Now, if the letters, if the right hand and middle leg do not properly come downwards to reach a point with the left hand leg, that is to say that if the shin was drawn by the scribe with a kind of base, like a horizontal base, like the way that our shins are printed in our printed texts, that is considered to be pasul, to be invalid. It is at the very least questionable whether it is acceptable, and there are poskim who reject it unless the three heads of the shin all reach one point, just like the three columns of the tree of the Sfirot all join together in the Sfira of Yesod, of which the associated divine name is Shin, and the letter Shaddai, and the letter Shin is the first letter of that name. Now, if the shin were drawn not with three but with four heads, that would be pasul, invalid. It is a fact that embossed on the outside of the tefillin of the head of the observant Jew, on the bayit, on the leather capsule of the tefillin of the head, on each side there is the letter Shin embossed. On one side is the letter Shin with three heads, and on the other side is the letter Shin with four heads. But if the Shin were written with four heads in the Sefer Torah or the tefillin or the mezuzah, that would be invalid, and it could only be corrected by the scribe if he were to, if he had not, in a case of tefillin and mezuzah, gone on writing further. If he'd already gone writing further after writing a four-headed shin, then he would not be able to correct it anymore. But if he had not written after the shin and realized he'd written it wrong with four heads, he would have to scrape off much of the form of what he'd written in order to start off writing the shin correctly in the proper way. Well, now the Chavetz Chaim rules on the question of what would be if the three heads of the shin, if one or other of them was slightly disconnected from the letter. Every Hebrew letter, as we have seen, there are certain letters that are written with two separate lines, as in the case of the letter Hey. The letter Hey has two separate components. The left-hand leg, which stands separate from the angled right-hand dalet on the right-hand side. So there, and likewise, the letter Kuf has two parts that are separate. But in the case of the Shin, the three heads are all part of one whole, and they must all be connected. So if there was a break between, say, one of the heads and its leg, this is a complex question of halacha as to what is the status of that letter. It is dealt with in Mishnah Berurah in the Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim chapter 22, immediately preceding the Mishnah Sofrim, and there we learn that even though there is a break, and as long as there is a break in the letter is not valid, nevertheless, since the essential form of the letter would still be there, even if there was a slight break, it would be possible to fix the letter by the scribe, even if he'd written further in tefillin and mezuzah, he'd still be able to go and correct the shin because its basic form was with it. And the same is considered to apply if the scribe, for example, had drawn the heads in such a way that one of the head is actually flowing into the other. It would be permitted to scrape off the ink to erase the place where the heads were connected. However, as long as the heads are connected, if the heads had run in one to the other with the ink until it has been corrected, that is considered pasul, invalid, and would have to be corrected. And there are technical rules for the scribe in the event that the a scribe had made the connection to be more than just a slight connection. These are particular technical rules for the scribes. And with that, we conclude our study of the Hebrew letter Shin as written in the Torah scroll, the Tefillin, and the Mezuzah. So with that, my dear friends, let us now take another very a brief interval and come back after that to another study for today of teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov from Likutey Moharan. Be back in very shortly. Back again now for today to our studies of Chassidus, to the study of Likutey Moharan, teaching of Rabbi Nachman from his master work, Likutey Moharan. Shalom, today, the 16th of the month of Shevat of the year 5778, corresponding to the 1st of February of the year 2018. And today we come to study of the teaching in Rabbi Nachman's master work, Likutey Moharan, in the second part of the original Hebrew printing, lesson 34, which is based upon the same verse as in lesson 33 that we studied in our previous session. Based upon the verse in Exodus in chapter 18, which describes how Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, when he came to the wilderness and Moses told him about the miracles accomplished for Israel and the destruction of Egypt, the Torah says, Vayichad Yisro al kol hatovo. And Jethro literally rejoiced. As we have seen, there are other connotations in this word we had in the previous teaching of Reb Nachman, teaching 33, that based upon the saying of the rabbinic sages that Jethro's skin came out in bristles, his hair was standing on edge out of devastation, out of the destruction of Egypt. But now Reb Nachman takes this verse in a completely different direction, although the two teachings, teaching 33 and 34, are bound up together. Vayichad Yisro al kol hatovo, quoting the verse from Exodus chapter 18, Jethro rejoiced over all of the goodness. Says Reb Nachman in explanation, Ki etel stam b'nei Odom eina simcho shel hatoivos b'yachad. By most regular people, the joy over all of the different benefits and goodnesses that God does to us did not all come together as one single rejoicing. There are many divisions and distinctions when it comes to the concept of simcha, of joy. Lamashal, by way of an example, when people come to a wedding, there are people who rejoice over the eating, the food that the person's going to be eating, the fish, the meat, and other courses. V'yesh echod, there's another person, shesomech min hakli zemer, another person will rejoice from the musical instruments. V'yesh shesomech midavar machirim chayitze b'hem, there are others who are enjoying other similar things, other aspects of the surroundings of the celebration, the components of the celebration. V'yesh shesomeach min hachasnu atzmo, there is somebody there who is rejoicing from the essential wedding that is taking place here, the wedding of two people, two souls, kagon hamuchutonin, like the two families who are going to be joined through the marital connection. The two families are much less interested in the food and drink and the other peripheries as in the actual joy of the coming union of the bride and the groom. They're not paying attention to the food and the drink. They're rejoicing over the marriage itself. And there are other distinctions also between different people's enjoyment of the wedding. But there's not a person that will be happy over all of the different causes of celebration all together in a unity. Even even if there is somebody that is rejoicing over all of these things, even so, it's not joy over all of the things together. Even an exceptionally sensible and sensitive and receptive person, it will be from each and every aspect in and of itself. There can be even a person that has no joy whatever. Is not interested not in the food or the drink or other things. Could be this person is jealous and is in pain. He's jealous over the marriage match. He watches with an evil eye that person made a marriage match with the other person. The true perfection and greatness of joy is if there is a person that is worthy of rejoicing over all of the benefits, all of the good aspects, all together in a unity. Here Rabbi Nachman is teaching us the concept of yichud, of understanding that everything, all of the different manifestations in creation are all come from one source, the one God. V'zeh, this, to be able to rejoice from all of the good things, all in one unity, zeh yefshar ki im shemistakel lemalo al kol hatovo. This is impossible unless the person looks up above, beyond, over and above and beyond all of this goodness. Dehainu al hashoresh. He has to put his sights to the root. Shemisham nimshochin kol hatovos. He has to put his sights to the root from which are drawn all of the goodnesses and benefits. V'sham b'hashoresh hakol echod. For there at the root everything is one. Then all of the joy of the person will be from all of the good things together. And then the joy is very great. The joy radiates with a great light. Because of the completeness, the generality in which each and every aspect of the joy is absorbed in and united with each and every other aspect, then the light of the joyous celebrations is all magnified more than ever. The more that all of the abundance of the different aspects of joy are unified one with the other and all experienced as one unity, the light of the joy is increased more and more. For the light is magnified and increased very greatly. Because there is a shining and a flashing that flashes forth from each and every aspect of the celebration to each and every other. The more that there are joyous celebrations that are absorbed and included together in unity, then this flashing that comes from one aspect to the other, this mutual bathing of light and extension of light, all of this is increasing. And that is why when the joy out of all of the good aspects all together is all joined together in unity, Azai ora simcho godol ma'od al yedei ribui is noitzetzus mizelo zeh umizelo zeh. The light of the joy is tremendously great on account of this a mutual and complementary flashing of light from one aspect to the other. V'zeu vayichad Yisroi al kol hatoivo. So now that it's approached the verse in Exodus chapter 18, vayichad Yisroi, Jethro, as we said, the root is understood on the simple level as from the Aramaic root of chedva, joy, simcha. Jethro rejoiced over all of the goodness, but of course the word vayichad has the connotation of unification. He made a yichud, yachad, together. He put it all together, all the goodness. Shehoyo somech mikol hatoivos beyachad. He was rejoicing over all the different aspects of goodness together. V'zeu al kol hatoivo. That's why the verse specifies he rejoiced over all the goodness of God to Israel. Ki hoyo mistakel lemalo al kol hatoivo. He was looking above over all the goodness. Hainu al hashoresh. He looked to the very root. Sheshama kol echol. For there everything is unity. V'sham nichlalin kol hasmochis yachad. At that root, all of the different aspects of joy and celebration are absorbed one in the other into a unity together. That was why Yitro was rejoicing over all of the different goodnesses together. And we see here in Likutey Moharan teaching 34 how it links with teaching 33, for we see that Yitro, the archetypal ger, the archetypal convert, was not looking specifically at the food and the drink and the benefits of Aliyah to Israel. He was looking at everything taken together. He was searching for the root, the unified root of everything. So with that, my dear friends, we conclude for today our studies, and with the help of God, I hope to be back here on Sunday of next week, and likewise Monday and next Thursday, to proceed with our studies. With the help of God, on Sunday we shall make a conclusion of our study of the forms of the Hebrew letters when we come to the letter Taf, and as already mentioned, we will be turning thereafter to the laws of kashrut, the laws of the purity of our food and our kitchen, starting with the Torah prohibition of the consumption of the blood of animals, which necessitates our salting of the meat of animals after correct shchita, slaughter, before we are able to eat the meat. And we shall be illuminating our study of the laws of the kitchen, the laws of kashrut, with study from Likutey Halachot, the Hasidic masterpiece of Rabbi Nachman's great student, Rabbi Natan of Breslov, Rabbi Nosson, who on all of the different areas of Torah law in the Shulchan Aruch has provided us with Hasidic insights into the deeper meaning of these laws. So that we will have, God willing, when we start these laws next Monday. Until then, let me wish you Hemshech Yom Tov, a continuing good day, and Shabbat Shalom, a good and a blessed Shabbat, and look forward to studying with you again from here in the holy city of Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Shabbat Shalom Umvorach.